Hi guys, welcome back to the People's Duchess. Thank you so much for being here. I am going to jump right into things today because we do have a lot to cover, and with respect to the subject matter, go over it with as much factual information as possible. I was working on the South by Southwest weekend wrap up, and this huge story broke about the doctored photos that I'm sure you guys have all seen by now. It's atypical for this channel. Usually I have this royal news on Poppy Royal. It's important to highlight some of the factual events that have taken place over the last 24 to 48 hours and cover them in a manner that is relevant to the subject matter that we talk about all the time on this channel. I'm sure you guys have all seen some of the highlights and lowlights that have come to light over the past couple of days. You know how we do on the People's Duchess. We are data-based, we bring the receipts. I don't want to go into the conspiracy theories. That's really not my forte. A couple of publications, well, pretty much all of the publications have come out in one way or the other to denounce the dishonesty that we've seen from Kensington Palace and Prince William and Kate Middleton as well, who we now have learned is participating in the deception. I don't post some of these outlets for a very good reason. They are not factually based, and they tend to have extreme bias when reporting on the Sussexes in particular, but in general, from the government to the royals all the way down. Over the last several days, these same publications have turned tail and started singing a new tune. Some of them disbelieving that they were lied to by the palace, and others expressing that they've seen the light when it comes to the palace telling lies and Harry and Meghan having told the truth. And it is within this Venn diagram that I want to talk about this. I will just do my best to report factually about things that have unfolded and not add personal commentary just because I don't need to. There are a couple of slides here where I am going to jump in and then talk about clarification. We have a very interesting story about Kensington Palace's latest blunder with the photo scandal. This particular piece does highlight the following. The family waits for them to fail and come crawling back with their tail between their legs, but they succeed at toughing it out rather than returning. With her wealth and the TV career she'd had before she ever met Harry, Meghan is blessed enough not to need to go back. She is a poster girl for empowerment in the face of relentless intimidation and unwarranted attacks, as she does what she likes, when she likes, without having to kowtow to the royal rota. Watching the Cambridge dumpster fire from afar must be what freedom feels like, especially with Kate now finding out the optics of the royal fairy tale are no substitute for day-to-day peace of mind. The royals had Commonwealth Day yesterday, and William showed up. He was swaying again, standing next to Camilla, blinking very rapidly again, looking pretty worse for wear. So getting into the Kate photograph, there have been plenty of TikToks made about this, plenty of other videos on this channel made about this. This is a TikTok that I really thought was interesting and obviously got a lot of traction online.
I know by now we all know that this photo has probably been photoshopped to hell and back, but I've been doing some research and I really believe that this photo was taken back in November of 2023, or some version of this photo. And if you don't believe me that this photo is really photoshopped or fake or whatever, then look no further than this notice from AP that they sent out telling people not to publish it because there was evidence that it had been manipulated. I'm not going to waste your time pointing out all the different evidence of Photoshop. It's all over Twitter. Just go look. Instead, I'm going to say, let's take a really good look at these outfits. Okay, so in November, Kate and her kids went to a baby bank and put together a charity video that dropped in December. And if you know anything about Kate Middleton, you know that people obsessively track her fashion. So of course I was able to find a bunch of blogs breaking down exactly what she was wearing. Now, yeah, I know that the sweater in her picture was black, but stick with me because it's photoshopped. I think they changed around the clothes on the photo, but look at these boots and look at the pants. This is the exact sweater. It's from a company called Rice, I believe. And look at that neckline and look at this part right here. I've upped the exposure quite a lot so that you can see the ribbing better, but look how it lands on her like thigh area, the thickness of that belt of the ribbing, and then look at the turtleneck. Yes, I know a lot of turtlenecks look the same, but I do believe that this was photoshopped to be darker and it was just that cream sweater because they don't make it in another color. They make it in cream and in camel. Now let's look at the boots that she's wearing in this new photo. It's the same exact boots as this baby bank visit that she did with her kids. Let's talk about the little girl and what she's wearing. Look at the neckline on this sweater in this photo. And here she is in a very similar neckline on the same day from the baby bank. And you can see it even better here in the fashion blog from December where they were breaking down what everybody was wearing in this video. It's a very specific neckline. I mean, take a look. It looks like they just added another sweater on top of this. But it doesn't stop there because take a look at the shoes that her daughter was wearing that day. These are the same exact shoes and probably the same tights, but it's hard to tell because the photos are a little bit saturated and I can't see the ribbing in the original one. But it's definitely the same shoes. Now the older kid was wearing this navy sweater and plaid shirt underneath at the baby bank. But it kind of looks to me in this photo like that's the same sweater, they just made it a little bit lighter and then they didn't want you to notice the checkered collar, so they covered it with blue. Unfortunately, I really could not get a clear shot of the pants and shoes of the little boy, so I didn't bother to go into his much, but it's weird to me that Kate is wearing a sweater that looks suspiciously exactly like that cream sweater, except just happens to be darker, with the same exact shoes and the same exact kind of looking pants, and then her daughter's wearing the same exact sweater with the ruffled neck, with the same exact shoes and possibly the same tights. Now, yes, this skirt is different, but that is one of the most glaring Photoshop issues in this photo that a lot of people have noticed. Right here where the skirt juts out and it doesn't make any sense. So additionally, a lot of people noticed right here where they messed up the sleeves. So I'm kind of thinking that they probably took this photo the day of that event back in November when they filmed it. It didn't see the light of day until December, but I think they filmed it in November. But of course, they're not going to release a picture that's supposed to be brand new with them all in the same outfits from a publicized event. So they just kind of tinkered it a little bit. I don't know. I'm sure a lot of you will call me crazy and I'm used to it, so go ahead. But they're definitely pulling the wool over your eyes with this one.
So that's also quite shocking. Ruby Naldred is social media editor, posted that her analysis of the Kate Middleton photo saga is that they took her face from the Vogue cover she did years ago and edited it in. And this timeline was used to show exactly how that was done. So this is clearly a picture that was put together by several other pictures. The messaging that we got the following day from the palace was Kate taking responsibility. The statement read, like many amateur photographers, I do occasionally experiment with editing. I wanted to express my apologies for any confusion the family photograph we shared yesterday caused, and then her pleasantries and C at the end. She is taking the fall for this. We knew there would be a fall guy, didn't know that it would be the Princess of Wales, who is ill at the moment, recovering. Chivalry is dead. A couple of other people did notice that, namely Julia Hartley Brewer, who then tweeted, note that in this statement, Kate does not actually say that it was her who edited that photograph. Went back to that picture and started seeing everything else that was wrong with the picture. So everything from the foliage to the grass for the time of the year, and the reflections in the mirror, the mirrors themselves, the mismatching of the pavement behind the children, the mismatching of a lot of different things, her zipper, Charlotte's skirt. There's notably no ring, one hand bigger than the other. Not only did she Photoshop in her picture from Vogue, but also all of the pieces of the picture seem to also have been chopped and screwed, which was confirmed when they would not release the original to the news agencies, which caused it to then generate a kill notice, which means that they should not distribute it to any of their clients, and their clients should erase all traces of the photo from their databases as it is not a real photo. This is where we start wading into concerning territory. This is where people who had no interest in anything royal started perking up and paying attention. You have this woman who has not been seen since December, for all intents and purposes, since Christmas. One statement after the other. Very rare, because their motto famously is never complain, never explain. So why are they doing all this complaining, and why are they doing all this very public explaining of themselves, apologizing, doing all the things? It's unprecedented. Charles is coming out with video after video after video showing that he's alive and well. Again, very unprecedented. This is him going all out in the offensive. This is on the heels of Meghan's extremely successful Southwest tour of Texas, where she gave a keynote speech at the South by Southwest panel. While Meghan is consistent in her philanthropy and her interests, which she has been consistent in the entirety of her life, the magazines hate to even mention them, but she bravely spoke about this at South by Southwest when she was asked how she handled the media scrutiny when it was unbearable. And Meghan gave a very thoughtful answer.
You've been able to manage the seemingly endless toxicity that comes at you.
Yes, social media is a environment that I think has a lot of that. You know, it's really interesting as I can reflect on it. I keep my distance from it right now just for my own well-being, but the bulk of the bullying and abuse that I was experiencing in social media and online was when I was pregnant with Archie and with Lily and with a newborn with each of them. And you just think about that, and you to really wrap your head around why people would be so hateful. It's not catty, it's cruel. Why you would do that, and certainly when you're pregnant or you have a newborn, we all, as moms, you know it's such a tender and sacred time. And I think, you know, you could either succumb to it or nearly succumb to how painful that is. And maybe in some regards, because I was pregnant, that mammalian instinct just kicked in. Do everything you can to protect your child, and as a result, protect yourself too. But, you know, I think as we look at what's happening in social media, there is so much work to be done in terms of keeping people safe. And that starts as we see what's happening with children and their exposure to things, but also just creating these habits that what I find the most disturbing, frankly, especially as a supporter of women, is how much of the hate is women completely spewing that to other women. And I cannot make sense of that, because I understand that there are certain platforms. Look, today's a really good example. This is being streamed on one of those platforms, and it's also fantastic because people are going to have access to hear all of this brilliance and all of this insight. And at the same time, it's a platform that has quite a bit of hate and rhetoric and incentivizes people to create pages where they can churn out very, very inciting comments and conspiracy theories that can have a tremendously negative effect on someone's mental health, their physical safety. So I think we have to really take a look at that when we're talking about how many women are in leadership positions, as you're saying, in broadcast. There are a lot of women that are at the highest level, executive level, who are great champions of women, who are great philanthropists, and they are working in these spaces, and yet they're allowing this kind of behavior to run rampant. And at a certain point, they have got to put the do's behind the say's and really make some changes on a systemic level. And then, you know, on the flip side of that, we have a responsibility in all of that. The systemic change has to happen at the same time as the cultural change is happening. Because if you're reading something terrible, terrible about a woman, why are you sharing it with your friends? Why are you choosing to put that out in the world? What if it was your friend or your mom or your daughter? You wouldn't do it. And I think that is the piece that is so lost right now in what's happening in the digital space and in certain sectors of the media. We have forgotten about our humanity.
It takes a lot of diplomacy to answer in this way, to talk about experiences that enrage you in a way that would also think forwardly and think to help others. Till today, They haven't yet said exactly what she did to them that does not revolve around her distancing herself from them. If her distancing herself from them is the worst thing she has done to them, then okay, fine. Their whole gripe is that she doesn't talk to them anymore. Why doesn't she talk to you anymore? He had no chance in that kind of environment. But luckily for Harry, he was sent off in areas that the royals thought would disadvantage him. But what really happened was that it garnered him a massive amount of diplomacy and soft power from a very young age. He proved to be a regular person who had a title, very huge advantage to him, and it carried with him his entire life. They've recently gone to Jamaica, various Commonwealth and soon to be formerly Commonwealth Islands, and were received very warmly because of Harry's remembered strength and humanity during his younger years, and because of his wife. Meghan is just as equally loved. She's done projects in Rwanda, famously in India. She's done projects in many areas of the world that have cultivated her the same soft power and diplomacy. Everyone is now waking up to the fact that they were denigrating this poor woman for no reason. We're not asking for medical records, just the common human decency of not lying to your public. Forging someone's name on a document is illegal in many places, so why would they have been able to do that and without repercussion? Very toxic scenario. It's unfortunate. Very interestingly enough, there's been some questioning about what happens if William commits a serious crime. This was in the international news, and some publications have picked this up. In just response to all of the strange events, including the mysterious death of Thomas Kingston, Lady Gabriella Kingston's husband of 5 years, and William having been one of the people that saw him last, and a gun being involved. There's just a lot of very mysterious things that have happened. The tide has definitely turned.
If William misbehaved, which is possible because those Windsor men are not renowned for their fidelity, I think that Kate would turn a blind eye. She wanted this marriage more than anything.
The royal family are celebrity bobbleheads. Their whole purpose in life is to keep you engaged with them on an intimate level, is to keep you interested in Kate and the kids and William, because if you were ever to stop being interested in them, all of their value would cease to exist. That is the only value that they provide, quote unquote provide, for the country of England, is that they generate interest. And it's interesting to me how even like the pseudo-feminist argument falls apart when you talk about the royal family, where people are like, oh, we talk about women more than men, like blah, 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 even though that is an argument that I've said before, like I fundamentally disagree with. The conversations we have around men are the air we breathe, but that's another point. We talk about the men in the royal family till our noses bleed. Kate Middleton has been existing in the shadows for decades now. That people are noticing that a highly famous woman in a notoriously dangerous public family is basically missing is not an act of public invasion. Which brings me to one other argument I've seen, which is, let's not do to Kate what we did to Diana. I'm going to stop you right there. The public did not kill Diana. The public did not push Meghan Markle out of the royal family. If you think that the public are responsible for what has happened to those women, then you are like actively trying not to pay attention. The royal family is and has always been a highly dangerous, in a physical sense, a highly dangerous place for women to be. They are objects that are used and thrown away at the leisure of the men around them. This is a family that costs taxpayers billions of dollars, that has no other function in the government, that exists to be present, and you're telling us to respect their privacy? This is a family that is often tongue-in-cheek referred to as the firm, which is so hell-bent on preserving its public image and in controlling the conversations around it, that when the conversations move away from it and when it loses control, that's when bad things happen to women. And you're telling us at this point, when it's so obvious that the royal family has lost control of the conversation and is obviously hiding something, that we shouldn't ask any questions? This is a family that has thrown away countless women over the years, that has treated them like trash, that has literally gotten them killed with their behavior, that has subjected them to profound racism. And yet you're telling us that we're the ones who are treating the women in that family poorly? That's super interesting to me.
Very strange turn of events, a very unfortunate turn of events. I will keep you guys posted. I will be delivering the South by Southwest weekend roundup later on in the week. Sorry for the delay. We are inching ever closer to 3K, so we will again be doing that giveaway at 3K. Like, subscribe, and share this video so that we can hit that goal as soon as possible. Have a wonderful rest of your week. Please remember to be kind. I will see you guys later. Bye.